Welcome to the very first video in my new web browser game series, and in this YouTube tutorial series I'm going to be covering a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, and mostly JavaScript so that you will learn how to make simple browser games and hopefully in the future even more complex ones and possibly multiplayer games depending on how long I make this series. So my last series on this channel was making Slither.io in Python and Pygame, but there was really no room for beginners there. You had to already know Python and Pygame. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to make an entirely beginner-friendly series. And what we're going to be doing today is just creating a simple blank website, which we will use in future videos to start coding projects. Like I said, I will be covering HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All three of those programming languages are used to make websites. Well, and if you want to be technical, HTML isn't a programming language, but I'm going to refer to it as that for simplicity. All three of these languages are needed to make a website. HTML is what defines the body of and the structure of your website, so what it will actually be made of. That's what HTML code is for. CSS code is for stylizing your website. And then JavaScript is for making the brains of your websites. And eventually for us, our game logic when we make games on the website. But I will not be covering CSS or JavaScript today. Today I'm just going to be going over basic HTML so that we can get this series started because we need a blank website to work from. What I have here is a folder that's empty, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new item, a new file, and I'm going to call it index.html. This is going to be our HTML file where we put our HTML code. And what I'm going to do next, this tutorial series, unlike my last one, you don't need a fancy code editor. You could edit with Notepad. You can follow along with Notepad or other things. I'm going to use Notepad++. I strongly recommend it. And if you do have Notepad++, to open it, you just right click on the file. And if you're on Windows 10, you can immediately click Edit with Notepad++. But since I got Windows 11, I have to click on Show More Options, Edit with Notepad++. So we have a blank index.html file. This could be, by the way, called home.html or anything like that. This is where we're going to put the HTML code, which will be basically the blank slate for the next few videos where I'll cover JavaScript. And again, this is meant for beginners. The next bit of code I'm going to write is going to seem kind of complicated and random. And though I'll try to explain each part, this is where memorization is going to come in, and I try not to teach too much like that, but it will be needed for this. The first thing I'm going to type here is a left angle bracket, an exclamation point, and then doc type HTML right angle bracket. What this does is this portion of code tells the browser that we're dealing with an HTML document. Now I'm going to go down a little bit. The next thing I'm going to add is a left angle bracket, HTML right angle bracket, and I'm going to add a few lines. Again, this is going to be a lot of memorization at first, but I'm going to break these down in just a second. Left angle bracket, a slash, and then HTML right angle bracket. So what I just now added was the HTML tag. And a tag in HTML is just a piece of data that has an opening and a closing part. And then everything that is in the middle is what's inside the tag. So I have the opening HTML tag, 2 angle brackets, and the name. And then the closing one, which is 2 angle brackets, the name, and this slash. And then all the rest of the coding we're going to be doing today is going to be inside the HTML tag. This tells the browser where our HTML code is located. So this upper part describes the kind of document that we're going to be working with, and then all our HTML code is going to go inside of this tag. And you're going to hear that word tag a lot, but you'll get more used to typing them out. Now inside the HTML tag, so not out here, but in between the opening and closing HTML tags, I'm going to add a new head tag. And I'll explain what that does in a second. Head, left and right angle brackets as always, space, and then a slash, head. And then I'm going to create the body tag. Left angle bracket, body, right angle bracket, add some space, left angle bracket, slash, body, right angle bracket. So again, this is a lot of stuff to take in, and I'm going to do my best to break this stuff down. So I already explained what this top one does in HTML. The head, I'll explain in a future video, but the body is what we're going to be focusing on mostly. The body defines defines basically the structure of your whole website. So everything else for the most part that we're going to be adding is going to go inside this body tag here. This is where you're going to put all the skeleton of your website and tell the browser how to render this site. Now, most of what we'll be doing will go in the body tag here, with one exception. We're going to add one more thing, and it will be inside of the head tag. So notice what I mean by inside. It is in between the opening head tag and the closing one. Inside, in between these, I'm going to create a title tag. And this will probably be the most tangible one of all. Title, my website, website, there we go, slash title. Again, these are all following the same basic rules for a tag. Left angle bracket, name, right angle bracket, left angle bracket, slash, name, right angle bracket, and then the content in the middle. This title I put inside of the head tag, and you do not have to tab it over like I did, but I am choosing to because it makes it more clear that the title is inside of the head. And you could also do that with head and body. You could tab those over so that it's more clear that they're inside of HTML. Now, if you save this and then go back to your folder where you added your index.html file and just open that, you're going to get a completely blank website here. But notice the title of the website is going to be whatever you put inside of the title tag here. So if I change this to ABCDEFG, I saved the file, and then I refresh the page, it's going to modify the title. Now this, again, since this series is meant for absolute beginners, the rest of my videos are not going to be like that. I won't be dumping all this code on you at once with little explanation, but this is necessary because from here, now we got something to work with for the next video where I'll be going over JavaScript, and JavaScript is going to be much easier to pick up. But for now, unfortunately, you will have to memorize this format here, the doc type HTML, the head, title inside the head, and then the body here. And of course, you could omit some of these. The title you actually don't need, but of course, if you saved it, now the title is just the name of the file, and it's always nice to have a title. So that concludes the first video for my series, and then in the next video, I plan on going over basic JavaScript.